Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Lady Ada the Engineer. With me, Mr. Lady Ada on camera control and looking very goth. We're
Goth Day.
both kind of goth. Yeah, every day's goth day when you're here at Adafruit. But
Yep,
right now, it's actually Ask Engineer hour, where you get to
it
ask
is.
me questions at the end. We're broadcasting live from downtown Manhattan. We saw some video from our factory where we do the manufacturing and testing and kitting and coding and shipping of all these electronic goodies. For the next 45-ish minutes, we're going to be chatting about the news of making and hacking and electronics. So, Mr. Lady Ada, tell them what's on tonight's show and tell them the code.
There's a discount code on tonight's show. The code is Pixel T. 10% off the native store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Use it or lose it. We'll talk about our live shows, including JP's product pick of the week. We're going to highlight. We've got some big news with Adafruit Daily, specifically our Python on Hardware newsletter. Talk about what's going on in Python on Hardware soon too. Got some open source hardware guides, code, and more. New York City factory footage. Gonna show some 3D printing how-tos, speed ups, and more. We got Ion MPI, new product introduction brought to you by DigiKey. 3, it is Raytech. And we've got some top secret. Lady is going to show some new things that the world has never seen before, but you'll see it very, very soon. We got some new products. We'll do new products first on top secret. We're going to answer your questions. We do that on Discord, adafruit.it/discord or discord.gg. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Great.
Okie dokie. So don't forget the code is Pixel T. You'll see why when we get the new products, but you can use it throughout the show or at the end. And you can also use it after the show. When you add stuff to your cart in the USA only, because it is very challenging to do freebies internationally, because every rule has changed internationally since we've been starting Adafruit. So when you put something free and international order, that just gums up the system and it doesn't know how to get classified.
Yeah.
People have to say, well, it was free. And they're like, well, we want
The order could be held.
want you to pay,
Yeah.
get a receipt for zero, all these things. So, lots of things are changing.
Changes.
So that being said, in the US, if you put stuff in your cart, you'll see it. We also do a good job trying to let you know, if you're going to have free stuff in your cart or not. But anyways, what they got?
Okay, $99 or more, you get this beautiful PCB coaster with a gold Adafruit logo and some bumpers. Keep your desk clean and your drink cozy. $149 or more, we have this Pro Micro Pinout compatible board, the KB2040. We will ship it to you. It has an RP2040 chip and 8 megabytes of flash, USB-C, castellated pad, stomach UT. It's designed for making keyboards, but honestly, you can use it for all sorts of stuff. It's just a little compact RP2040 board. Free UPS shipping for orders $199 or more. And finally, $299 or more. We still have Circuit Playground Expresses, giving them away a great gift for you or others because it's a way to learn programming and microcontrollers and electronics without needing any tools. Just plug in a USB cable and you can get started with Arduino or CircuitPython, MicroPython, or Code.org, or MakeCode, or many other languages that support the Circuit Playground.
Alrighty, and then some news updates and more. Monday is Memorial Day, so it is an Adafruit holiday. Lots of folks are taking off.
Yay!
This is kind of like a big holiday.
Starts the summer. Spring.
Starts the summer, so you can check on our webpage. It's on our blog. It's going to be the banner across the site. Just a bit of a reminder that Memorial Day is Monday, May 27th, a federal holiday as well as holiday for Adafruit team. The shipping notifications might go out, but nothing gets picked up until Tuesday, May 28th. So add extra time for your orders, especially if you're ordering anything like after, I don't know, 11 a.m. on Friday and might
Yeah.
not go out till Tuesday.
If you really need something soon, order it
Yeah.
Thursday, get it on Friday.
Yep. That's why we do that code, by the way. Okay. We do a bunch of live shows. We just did the show and tell.
Thanks,
Thank you
JP.
so much, JP. We're going to watch it right afterwards.
Saw some
Looks
cool
like
blinkies.
looks like there are some cool projects. There always is. You can come by any Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, show and share your projects. On Sundays, we do Desk Lady Ada, including the Great Search. And then on Tuesdays, we do JP's product pick of the week. Here's a highlight.
The Flora NeoPixel V3 sheet of 20. They're perfect for using conductive thread and sewing onto your projects. So there's a minus, that's where the ground line will run. On the right side there's plus, that's your voltage, and that can be anywhere from about 3 to 5 volts. And then there's an in arrow and an out arrow, so that's the data line. So you're PWMing with NeoPixel code, go in and then send along the data to the next pixel. I have sewn a set of 12 of these onto the lapel of this wacky vest. Again, I've put some little plastic diffusers on there so that they're a little nicer to look at. And if you look on the back side, I've got a Gemma and a little battery. USB plug is still available, so I can plug into that to change the code. And this is all sewn on with some conductive steel threads. Flora RGB LED NeoPixel Sheet V3.
Alrighty, and then tomorrow is JP's workshop, and then on Friday it's deep dive with Scott, and if Scott there, it is Tim. So check it out. All right, it is Python on hardware time.
I'm wearing my Blinka shirt to celebrate.
Good on brand
That's right.
data. So first up, we had 500 boards, but I think we were adding some or whatever, but we wanted to pre-announce that there's 500 CircuitPython boards.
There are now, yes.
Yeah,
As
and
of this latest release.
yeah, and I'm gonna go to the downloads. Yeah, so if you go to Python, circuitpython.org, and check out the downloads, we have 503.
Well, we just added some.
We just added some more. And one of the things that we're proud of is the community has done the bundles, and the boards aren't even ours.
That's right. The top boards are not even ours.
Yeah.
Pico W, Shao, and RP2040.
And we made CircuitPython so people could come along and easily have all the firmware you just download it. So if you have a Seed Studio Shao, here it is. You can get CircuitPython 905, download the UF2. There's beta. All this happens automatically. It has where it can be purchased. We don't have, this isn't affiliate links or anything. These are just places that you can get it from. And it helps people run their businesses. I know Mini Sam, for instance, by Ben, doesn't have to worry about doing firmware. There's just a lot of neat things that you can do with CircuitPython, and this is one of them. And like one of the problems that we wanted to solve is how do you manage all the firmware?
Yeah.
So check out circuitpython.org. We're up to over 500 boards. Congratulations to the team.
1,000.
And more. And then the newsletter where we keep track of all this stuff. There's only one Python on hardware newsletter out there that we know of. There's Python newsletters, but we have 11,000 subscribers. We don't spam. Probably a lot of people even get it just on the web or GitHub.
It's not AI generated.
Not AI generated.
Made by meat.
Yeah, and we put it out there as a service as part of the community. And here is this week's. Anne has been doing an excellent job with it. And we have news, events. Usually Lady Ada has her pick.
Yeah.
What's your pick of the week? What are your picks
so
here?
Scroll down. Okay, so first we'll talk about this, but there's a new Raspberry Pi M2 hat, good for adding hardware to your Python running Raspberry Pi. That's kind of neat. There's also a lot of chatter online about financial future of Raspberry Pi, which is pretty exciting. You can check that out, though I don't think we covered it here.
Yeah.
It's all good. And then I thought this was neat. So I like just, MicroPython and CircuitPython now support so many chips and so many chip families that a lot of products can just like run MicroPython or CircuitPython. And what's interesting is that it means that if you want to hack with hardware or hack a device, it's easier than ever because, getting an SDK and building the board definition can be like, it's a real pain, but with MicroPython, CircuitPython, super easy. So this is a Playdate game. It's running an STM32F7, I think, or something. That's supported with MicroPython. I think they just made a slight variant change. And I like that they even got the display driver working. That display, we actually have a driver for it in CircuitPython, so maybe they ported it to MicroPython, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And then lastly, one last thing. No, keep going. And this is cool too.
Oh, this is cool.
So the latest
The Arduino
robot,
robot can run micro.
yeah, the latest Arduino product is a cute little robot. And what I like is that it's programmed in MicroPython. It's got an ESP32 and an STM32 to do the real-time robots and sensing stuff, which makes sense because the ESP32 doesn't have as many pins as you'd think. You'd think like, oh, like so many pins, but a lot of them are used for flash and memory and are input only. So MicroPython for robotics it's a great platform, and I'm psyched to see that. And of course, if someone wants to do a CircuitPython build, ESP32 is supported. And then finally, Jepler a couple days ago did a talk at PyCon, which I think is just wrapping up now. They might be doing sprints a little bit this week, but he gave a talk, I think, on Monday or Sunday or something, or Tuesday. Said it went great. Did some retro keyboard hacking videos. I think will be posted up soon. And I'm gonna, he might do a guide or a playground note where he links to all of the stuff
cool.
he covered.
Yeah, and we'll fill the newsletter with some of the talks that were posted.
Yeah, they get posted.
Yeah.
They get posted.
So
There's a lot of projects in here. I didn't get to cover everything. Katney did a cool badge for PyCon. Some, just
there's a
text
lot going on, and so check it out. And once again, congrats to Anne and the team who put the newsletter
Dun, dun, dun.
together. This is delivered to you every single week. Adafruitdaily.com is where you get it. And we hate spam even more than you do. So we want to make sure we always respect what you want. So it's not even part of the store experience. Not Adafruit.com. It's Adafruitdaily.com. Okay. Open source hardware news. We have guides that we publish.
750 boards too.
There's a lot.
Okay.
A lot. And then we also have 3,000 guides altogether. Yeah.
Over 3,000.
Okay. So what are the guides on the big board this week?
Okay, this week we've got this a remake of the USB rotary media dial. I don't remember what we used before, like maybe a Pro Trinket or something. Redone with the, I think, RP2040 Cutie Pie and our STEMMA QT rotary encoder for an even easier, more fun build. It's like 4 soldering wires, I think. It's very minimal. And even improved, I like the little knurling on the dial. I think Nene Pedro showed it off on the show and
Show and
tell.
tell. Yeah,
They
we
did some Photoshop editing with it, and they were like, "This is actually a really nice dial." I really want to make a version now with a display in the middle, so maybe I'll
That's a good
work
idea.
on that. And yeah, I know it's you have to build it upside down then, right? So we have to figure out how to do that. And then let's see, the Proto Tripler cowbell. Liz did a guide for that. So if you have cowbells or Raspberry Pi Pico boards and you want to have them side by side, now you can have 3. So 2 accessories and 1 board. I think that's a good amount for now. People always ask for quads, but like we literally don't have that many boards you could plug in even if you wanted to. So maybe as we add more boards. That's it for this week. I think JP's working on some projects and guides coming through, and then Liz, of course, is also going to be doing some guides. But a lot of nice remakes from knowing Pedro lately. I'm digging it.
Okay, and then don't forget there's
Playground
where you can post up your own. Yeah, there's new ones. This is looking on them. Microcontroller. It's a lightweight edition, web APIs, and
some tutorials, some cool, some CircuitPython.
Yeah, so
code for hardware. Go there, post up your projects, share them with the community.
All right, let's do some factory footage. Alrighty, let's do some 3D printing. We're gonna play the cool little
media dial
project, and then a speed up back to back. Take it away, no
floppy drive themed.
Yeah.
You can build a custom USB media dial with Adafruit Stemma QT rotary encoder and CircuitPython. We redesigned our original project to fit the Adafruit Stemma QT rotary encoder and a QT-Py RP2040. It's set up as a USB controller to play media and adjust the volume of our speakers. You can single-click to play and pause media, double-click to skip to the next track. The electronics are housed in our 3D printed snap-fit enclosure that features a new design. The knob features a built-in LED diffuser with textured knurling on the outer edge. We use the filament swap technique to make a multi-material print, so there's no need for a multi-extruder. Rotary encoders are tedious to use in projects with all those wired connections, but these days we really like using Adafruit Stemma QT rotary encoder breakouts. You can plug them into a QT-Py with the Stemma QT cable, so you don't need to solder. The circuit is much easier to put together. We just need 3 connections for the NeoPixel strip. With the Stemma QT rotary encoder, it's easy to code I2C devices using the Adafruit Seesaw library for CircuitPython. We've made it easy to change the USB HID key codes in the top of the code. Just add your desired keyboard shortcuts or media controls in the variables. In the code, whenever the encoder detects a turn, the NeoPixels will cycle through a color wheel. We think it's a nice upgrade from our previous project, and it's a lot easier to customize. Our CAD files are open source and free to download. We also have 3D models of Adafruit breakout boards, so you can use them in your projects. We thought it'd be interesting to use it on an iOS device for video editing. It feels more ergonomic, and you get that tactile feel when doing precise edits. You can actually get a lot of functionality out of the rotary encoder, especially with multiple clicks and a long press. We hope this inspires you to check out Adafruit's Stemma QT rotary encoder and CircuitPython for your next USB HID project.
Alrighty, and before we get off to INPI, Pixel T is the code. And a little reminder, you get free stuff for USA. Monday's a holiday, so make sure you place your orders. Let's do INPI.
Yep.
On NPI.
Ion NPI, new product introduction, brought to you by DigiKey. Thanks. DigiKey Retech is the company. Lady Ada, what is the new product of the week this week?
Okay, this week, I'm actually psyched when I saw this show up on digikey.com/new, because I was like, oh my God, I know this thing so well. And people are always asking me if DigiKey stocks this item. And so now I can say, yes, they do. So I'm talking about the Raytech MDBT40,
Right.
sorry, MDBT50 series of modules. These contain an NRF52840 in a lovely tinned module with antenna options, and you can even see it's got pre-certifications for FCC, IC, CMMIT. So, you know, if you're looking to add the Nordic NRF52840 to your boards, this could be a really good option. This is what I use, so I personally recommend it. The NRF52840 is a Cortex M4, 1 megabyte flash, 256K RAM, ultra powerful, but ultra low power Bluetooth Low Energy 5 processor, all in one from Nordic. I think it's their best chip to date. I mean, they'll could make new chips and those will be better. But this was really definitely my favorite because it had that Cortex M4, super powerful, Great Bluetooth Low Energy, great low power, excellent SDK support, tons of flash, tons of RAM, like a real powerhouse. But also had native USB. Also, their easy DMA, which I think is great. Only one downside is the chip comes in this package, which is like not BGA, it's not QFN, it's like kind of somewhere in the middle. And you see there's a big ground plane in the center, and then there's all these like dot pads. And one of the challenges is like, how do you get to that inner row of pads? Because you need blind vias or like plugged vias, or you would need very, very small traces to make in between the outer row of dot. It's kind of challenging. On the Circuit Playground Bluefruit, which is the only board we make where we actually use the bare chip, you see what I did a little bit of a hack where I used vias on the inside, and then I made the ground pad smaller and covered it with mask. But honestly, this isn't recommended, and there is yield failure sometimes if the mask is too thin, and the via contact comes through and can short to ground. So it works fairly well, but it's not the best solution. And also, you still have to do the antenna tuning, and you need all these passives. And honestly, if you can spare the space on the Circuit Playground Bluefruit, I can't, but on other boards, I can. I recommend going with the MDBT50 because, again, I use it. It's a great module. It's fairly small, 15.5 by 10.5 millimeters. It does have a bunch of pads in the middle, but you see that there's lots of space inside for vias or for routing the traces through. You can route the traces through, I think, with a 6.6 mil rule. It's like not a big deal at all. You get all the pads brought out, which is nice, and all of them are kept, and it's got a tin to protect all the components. Here's an example layout. With the Circuit Playground Bluefruit, you can kind of barely get away. Again, if you do that hack, I think I got away with a 2-layer board, but I think I had to go down to 5 mil rule. With the module, you can stick to 7 or 8 mil, 7 or 8, space and trace which is definitely within the budget of any project or PCB house. Like, you don't have to go 4-layer if you don't want to. You don't have to do any funky VS stuff. And you can see like all the traces come out quite nicely, and they're all grouped in a logical way. So at the bottom, there's the Q-Spy flash. All those pins are right next to each other, which is kind of nice. And that's what it looks like. So, I think we released our first board with this module in 2019. And it's been popular since maybe 2018. I think 2019 seems late. I think it must have been before then, but the chip came out in 2017, so probably 2018 is when the module came out, and then we made a Feather Express with it. It's very popular, especially with the native USB, supported by Arduino and CircuitPython. We also have followed that up with the Clue board, which has that same module in the top left, and you can see it supports a lot of hardware. We have the USB and the SPI flash, tons of sensors, capacitive touch, PWM for piezo, TFT display buttons. I mean, it's a very nice processor. It can run your main application while also doing the Bluetooth Low Energy soft device. It's also fairly compact. You can see it here on an itsy bitsy board, very small board. I think 0.6 inches between the 2 rows of headers. Comes in a couple different configurations. So the one I like, which you saw before, was one with the chip antenna, but there's also a version with a trace antenna, although it has slightly like 0.5 dB less gain. And then I don't use, but I've seen other people use, and it's great if you want external antenna or just an antenna placed somewhere else in the enclosure, because maybe where the board is got some metal that could be in the way, is the UFL antenna version. So you just use a 2.4 gigahertz antenna and you're good to go. And DigiKey now stocks them. They're in stock. They're available at a great price for $8. That's pretty much the cost of the components if you were to get an NR52840 and all the pieces. And you don't have to do the antenna tuning, and you get the benefit of having the module pre-certified. So this is my personal pick. I love this module. I've used it a ton. I deeply recommend it. Always had really good yields with it. I love the Raytech modules.
All right. That's the NPI of the week this week.
Art on NPI.
All right, and since there's a question with the NPI, you can answer this right here. Is that a PCB coil antenna or is it V's and trace as a coil?
It's a PCB trace antenna, so it's got a form and length that is like a quarter wave whip style. Again, I tend to like the chip antenna, but either one can do. I mean, the trace antenna is going to have a little less clearance. You know what I mean? It's going to be slimmer.
Okay. For new products, coil is Pixel T. Let's kick it.
New. Yeah. New. Okay, we've got these purple cases that were we bought a bunch for the last Ada box, and we have some left over because we always purchase extra in case we need them. This is an adorable little case. It's purple, blinka purple, but it's also good. It'll hold microcontroller boards, cables, sensors, what have you. It has a little pocket in it. If you're getting a Memento camera, of course, it fits exactly in there, and a little bit of a pocket so you can store like a SD card or charging cable, but can be used for other projects as well.
Next up.
Some more clearance. So these are, you're like, whoa, these are familiar. It's a blast from the past. These are original Raspberry Pi 1 cables for the GPIO header, which was 2x13 pins. And we bought a lot of these cables because we were selling a lot of Pi 1s. But then it turned out that the Pi 2 and the Pi 1B Plus came out and it used a 2x20 connector. So now we can't use these 2x13s. So we have a lot and they're super cheap. So if you want some ribbon cable that's 6 inches long, if you happen to have a project that uses 26 pin IDC, you are in luck. You can get 10 of these for $1. And it's basically like free wire. Go for it.
All right, next up, new product from Raspberry Pi.
Yay! The M2 we've got the Raspberry Pi under plates from Pimoroni, and I think a couple other M2 options are going to the Duo from them as well. But if you want the official version of the M2 hat from Raspberry Pi, this is it. It's designed specifically by Raspberry Pi, so you know it's going to like pass all the speed tests that they've run. It comes with a little cable that plugs in on the other side, and it can hold up to 22 by 42 millimeter PCI Express cards. So good for adding storage or like AI accelerators or cellular modules or what have you. Yeah, we'll have these in the shop real soon, and they just came in, so we're going to get them all ready.
Okay, next up.
We have a revision for the 2.9 e-ink tricolor, and as people have been watching, all of our displays have been updated to use iSpy connectors to ease, because you see here all this wiring, there's a lot of wires. Maybe you don't want so many wires. Well, you can still get this beautiful 2.9-inch e-ink display with white, black, or red pixels. But this time, I'm just gonna skip ahead. On the back, first off, it's now native for black, but you also have this iSpy connector, 18-pin FPC, which means that you can plug it into any of our boards that have iSpy connectors on the other end, like the Pico Bell Tripler, or we also have a QT Pi BFF, or we have a little breakout board. So it just makes wiring, and if you want to mount it far away from where the microcontroller is, it's going to be a lot easier. You don't have to trace long wires out.
Alrighty, next up.
Okay. Next up, this was a special request from Brent in the Adafruit IO team. He really wanted to do some wiring with the DS18B20s, and he's like, I hate like tracing all these wires out, and I want them to be far away. And if only we had a little adapter extender thingy. And I was like, okay, well, like this, because he's like, I want to chain them together. So I made him a little chaining extender. It doesn't have I don't have a better name for it other than extending chaining breakout, whatever. So what's nice about this is you can use it with your DS18B20s. It doesn't have any like active circuitry on it. All it does is make your wiring easier. So let's go to the overhead and I can show it off. So here I've got the prototype versions, which are green, but I think you guys are cool with that. So you can just use the terminal blocks to connect up a TO92 DS18B20, or if you have a cabled version like this, you can just plug the cables in and screw them in. So ground, signal, and power. And then each one of them has a JST3PH connector like this. You can chain them together just by using these connectors, and we have them just with bare ends as well, so you can plug them in or extend them even more if you like. It's just, you know, an easy solid connector. And then you can plug it in, and then I've just got a one wire example running in CircuitPython here. And then, you know, if I click it in my mouth, should get warmer, unless it just froze because
Did you
there you
boop
go.
it?
I booped it, but there you go. Yeah,
Okay.
it's going up a little bit, 28 instead of 26 degrees. We always set it. It's actually kind of hard to reheat these metal body ones because they're so there you go, 32 degrees. Okay, so you know, you can read from one wires. One thing that you can do, although the CircuitPython library didn't support as well, is you can remove the power line and have it, if you delay 1 second between starting a read and getting the data, you can parasitically power the sensor, but the CircuitPython library actually works best if you power it with all 3 lines. Each one of these has a 4.7K pull-up, which is kind of the requirement for one wire. You can cut the trace. If you have more than 10 of them, I'd cut the trace, but otherwise it's no big deal to have the extra load. And then this is a little buffer that will buffer the signal line to the LED, so you can see when we're reading from the one wire, because you see the LED turn on, but this doesn't load down the signal pin. So will this be handy for some people? Yes. Is it, you know, just as easy to maybe wire it up yourself without having this adapter? Maybe, but I did this as a favor, and maybe you would benefit from that favor. So if you want to do some quick DS18B20 wiring, this might be a helpful tool.
Okay, and the star of the show tonight, besides you, Lady Ada, our team, our community, our customers, the entire world who makes open source possible, here is a star.
Dun dun dun! It's the Pixel Trinky, which is why the code is Pixelty today. The Pixel Trinky is yet another Trinky. I've been designing a lot of Trinkies because I have a lot of SAMD21 chips. What's funny is today actually we found out back in 2021 or 22 we bought 50,000 RP2040 chips, and as of this week we finally got through them. So you know, we all ordered like 2 years worth of inventory in 2022 or 2021, and you know, now we're done. So likewise trying to get rid of these SAMD21s. So what this is a USB A port plug that connects into your laptop, and on board is a SAMD21 microcontroller. It has 256K of flash, 32K of RAM, so it runs Arduino wonderfully. CircuitPython, it's a little minimal, but if it's only driving pixels, it can actually do quite a bit. There's a 3.3 volt regulator, a reset button, a little NeoPixel just for signal, and most importantly, terminal block output. And you see, oh, can you go back? Yeah, this is a great photo. Thanks to Ogren, our photographer. The 4-port terminal block uses screw terminal, so you just use a screwdriver. Top pin is ground, negative, then data, D, clock, C, and 5 volt plus. And what this lets you do is quickly wire up NeoPixel or dot star LEDs. The dot stars use both pins. The NeoPixels use just the data line, where you could have 2 NeoPixel strands, one on the data line and one take data from the clock line. And you don't have to do any like powering or wiring. And as long as you're driving less than like, you know, 150 pixels or 60 bright pixels, you can actually just power it from the USB port, which will give you about an amp. Here I'm using a USB to C adapter for the MacBook. And you can use Arduino, you can use CircuitPython. We might write a couple quick apps for using Windows 11 has dynamic lighting HID definition, so like the operating system itself can control NeoPixels or dot stars. But basically, it's like if you want a really quick way of just you plug it in, you don't have a separate wiring thing, you don't have to like solder or join any cables. For most, you know, NeoPixel strands you get, you'll just get the wires on the end. You could just cut and strip, or you know, plug directly into the ends of the wire. And you can see here, like we have a little wire adapter we recommend. You just plug it in, and then you screw it into the terminal blocks like so, and then no solder LED wiring up. And it's very compact too. So you can just have it plugged into your computer. And then, we might revisit like the Ada Light project, which did like dynamic lighting based on a movie or whatever you're watching. Instead of just like, it's basically the same as having an Arduino, but it's just very compact and inexpensive and ready to go. And it comes with a demo that immediately starts lighting up whatever pixel is connected. So it's working.
That's a good idea.
And if you want to, with people are like, oh, what if I want to drive more than 1 amp worth of pixels? Just disconnect the 5-volt line, use an external power supply, and share the ground line. So you don't have to use the 5-volt power. But if you want for small pixel strands, you can do it. And then of course the data and clock lines are level shifted. So it'll drive even the most finickiest of pixels.
Let's do products.
New.
Okay. Don't forget the code is Pixel T in the US. There's free stuff. And also do not forget Monday is a holiday. So if you place your order after Friday, like 11 a.m. ish, it might not ship until Tuesday. Let's do some top secret, and then we'll answer some of the questions that are lined up. And feel free to put some of your questions in there.
Let's get that vault open.
From the vault. Do these on the overhead this week.
Huh?
All right. We're doing these on the overhead this week.
Yeah. We didn't do videos.
What new
Yeah, these are hot. These just came in. Spicy. Okay.
what top
First
secrets you got?
I finally got these USB plug breakouts, which is great because people are always like, hey, can you make those Trinkies but USB-C? And the answer is like, well, no, not until I find like a good solid USB-C plug. So this is, it's like held on with these 2 tabs, but like it seems to be okay. There's a little bit of a clearance. Maybe I could, I don't know, but not really. All the pads are connected over here. And you've got data minus data plus CC, power, and ground. So a tiny USB-C plug. So you can plug this into your computer, and then for now it's just for my experimentation, but eventually I want to make it into like a Trinky so the Trinky can plug in directly into your USB-C port. Next up, speaking of one wire, one thing that always comes up with people is they're like, oh, I want to use one wire on a CircuitPython board, or an Arduino board that doesn't have one wire support for some reason. Or, a single board computer, and it doesn't necessarily have one wire soldered, compiled into the kernel. So this is a DS2484. This is a recommendation somebody emailed. I actually had a previous version of this chip on my to-do list, but they emailed and said, oh, there's another version. And so I was like, oh, great. The 4, which has some ESD protection. It's I2C, but can run one wire. So it would be able to connect to DS18B20s. Basically, that's what people use one wire for. Very small little chip from Maxim, no analog, but kind of excited about this because I think that could be good for, especially I'd like to have CircuitPython support, because I think then with Blinka, if you have a Raspberry Pi or something and you want to connect to one wire sensors or devices, you will have a I2C to one wire converter for that. And it's interesting, the datasheet's very simple. The datasheet's very minimal. There's not a lot of stuff you do with one wire. Most of it's on a higher level. And then also had a request for like people who wanted to connect a NeoPixel or sew a NeoPixel. They wanted like something like the Flora NeoPixel, but with like holes to mount it, and with connectors. So these are JST-SH connectors. So instead of soldering, you just plug in these wires. It's not going to be inexpensive. Nothing's going to be as cheap as just putting a NeoPixel on and some pads and like saying good luck. But I could see some model makers or some fashion or, wearable applications where you really want to be able to unplug the NeoPixel, but keep the wiring attached, or you want to swap out. So I think there could be some application for it, and then use M2 screws to mount it onto something. Anyways, those are my Sun outfits.
All right, and that is top secret. Okay, we're going to bounce to questions right away. I have them lined up for you to see here, Lady Ada.
Okay.
We're going to get to them.
Let's speed around. Don't be out here.
Yeah, we got to
Okay.
feed a kiddo.
Yes.
Okay, For the e-ink display, is the update time for this one? Is it possible to do an interactive menu? Does it support partial updates, or is it different settings?
Tricolors are really slow. They're always going to take like 20 seconds. Their best bet is a monochrome if you want high speed.
Okay, so three
Slow.
color, too slow for
Yeah,
interactive.
it's the red because the red has these huge ink
Okay.
module.
Does the Raspberry Pi M2 hat work with the Pi 4 Model B?
No, you need a Pi 5 because you need it to have the PCIe connector on it.
Okay. For PID 5971, I think that's DS18. Could those be used for NeoPixels as well?
Ooh, good question.
Someone's gonna try.
Yes, I think you could, but like they would all be connected in parallel because the signal line passes through. So it's probably not what you want.
Okay. What makes the Adafruit chainable DS18B20 extender breakout stemma JST PH 2mm chainable? What makes
It's just so you can connect cables and you can have them rather than like normally when you do GS18B120, all the pins connect together, so you have like a star formation in your like mechanical soldering. This just spaces them out, it just makes it easier.
Okay. Would the Adafruit Pixel Trinket USB key for NeoPixel dot star driving work with the 16x16 pixel display?
It would.
Okay. This one's from Mark. When you watch a show and tell, you'll see my next project is a wind vane. Looking for a sensor to measure rotating magnet cylinder where the north south are opposite sides to measure wind direction. Any good sensor you'd recommend?
Absolutely. The TLV 419 or something. Oh man, I don't remember the name of it. We have a magnetometer, a 3D magnetometer sensor. It's very inexpensive over I2C, and it's designed for magnet orientation sensing.
Okay. Would that sensor survive an asteroid impact? There's a follow-up question.
Depends how big the asteroid is.
Yeah,
Might.
we have to consult
Yeah.
dinosaurs and ask how some of that worked out. Okay, so those were the ones that were there in advance. Let me just make sure. For the INMPI, is that from the company Microchip? No.
No, this is from Nordic and Raytac. BFFs.
Retac Corp,
Raytac.
not Microchip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, TLV 493, thanks. That's it.
Okay. Looks like folks.
Yeah, I remember it was TLV something something 9 something, but yeah, that's what I want. I think more
Okay.
people should post it into just,
All right.
just
Look at
flood
this.
it- just flood it with that part. But yeah, that's the part.
There you go. Is there any popular chip component still hard to get at this time?
No, I actually think the part shortage is pretty much. I mean, anything got some things got discontinued, you know. But so far, everything that we've needed to book, we've been able to get at a
Yeah.
fairly fast
Oh,
pace.
the follow-up question for the answer is yes. The Pixel Trinket would drive the 16x60
Yes, you can do it.
in display. Yep. All right, cool. I think you got to all of them. Good work. Okay, everybody, that is our show for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday night. We do the show every single week. The code is Pixel T. The code changes every week. It's active till midnight. There's free stuff. Don't forget, if you're in the US, Monday's holiday. This has been an Adafruit production. We'll see everybody next week. Here's your moment of Zener.
Thanks, everybody.